Hi guys, it's a test phase stage 3 for the Vocation Rebalance test server. As many of you know, I am going on vacation today, so I won't be streaming. I'm sorry, I'll be away for a few days. And in fact, my wife is already in the car with the bags packed. She's waiting. But what kind of content creator and Tibian would I be if I wouldn't record a quick reaction to these changes? I just had a quick look at them and they are, well, they're interesting for sure. So let me go on with it, and then I'm going to go on my vacation, and I'll see you guys in a few days. Anyways, it's 10:40. The changes have just dropped for the third stage that I believe is likely the last one. I do not expect any more changes. So yeah, let's dive in. First of all, we've got the runes changes. Runes are back to their original size, which I totally didn't see coming. I don't know what the hell this was all about. It's such a waste of time, all these rune changes. Apparently, they back to the original size with the damage reduced. However, they then quote base power of 50, which is actually higher for thunderstorms and stone showers. I believe they're like 45, and avalanche and great fireball was like 55 or something. So I guess they've just evened them out. But it sounds like they're more or less the same power. So I don't really think, unless this is a typo and it's actually going to be like 40 or 45, then yeah, runes are still going to be very, very good. High-level paladins probably going to be using runes instead of those new barrage spells. Druids probably going to be using runes instead of the new fork spells. We'll get to that. Sorcerers may probably still skip runes because the sorcerer spells are very, very powerful. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like they've just, a lot of this rebalance was around removing the power from the runes, and they just kind of back to the original size. Weird. No, I'm not sure if I'm happy about that. Anyway, mana buffer now consumes 8% of your maximum mana in addition to the amount resulting from the converted damage. So basically what this means is barrier is still extremely it's buffer now. It's still extremely strong if you just trigger it every now and then, but you will be in trouble if you keep triggering it. Say you're in a box and you keep going to buffer over and over and over. This 8% of your maximum mana is quite a lot, especially on higher levels. It's a lot. However, it's still very, very strong. So I know a lot of people have been complaining or saying buffer is too strong, and it is. It is very strong and very nice. I like it. I don't like dying in this game. I think Sorcerer and Druid suffered for a very long time, and it's nice that they now have a way to not die. This is an okay compromise for me. I think 8% of your maximum mana is an interesting way to balance this. It does mean that if you just trigger it once, it doesn't really matter. But if you keep triggering it like 10 times in a minute because you're trapped or whatever, then this is going to be, yeah, basically a big, big problem. Anyway, I'm okay with those. Pretty happy. I hope they don't nerf it much further. Then moving on to the knight, we do have the expected chivalrous challenge change. So this is increased radius. I believe it is now basically the same radius as the monk, etc., just on both sides, which is very, very good. It does still miss a few corners, I believe like 4 or 8 corner squares. If the ranged monster just so happens to be out there, then you will still miss it. So it is going to be not as reliable necessarily as the old etc., but much easier to use. Of course, you just pop it. We'll see how it shakes out. I think EKs will likely complain about this a little bit because it's not as reliable, but I do think having played the monk and experienced the range etc. on the monk, you can get used to it. You can play around it. I think EKs, once they play around with this etc., they will get used to it. It will require a little tiny bit more positioning than the old etc. did, but nevertheless, yeah, I think it'll be fine long term. So I think EKs will get used to it. So I think it's okay. Then they've buffed shield slam a little bit. Well, they've added some wheel perks to 8% base damage and 25% damage reduction. So we're back to this set almost as strong as it was before. We get now 75% damage reduction from the shield slam, basically for the auto attacks, right? That from the monsters. Okay, pretty interesting, like good for a defensive build. I don't think anybody will be investing in it too much, but interesting. And then we have a nerf to Protector, which reduces damage done by 15 instead of 30%. I don't know. I think this is mostly for team hunts because for solo, this didn't really matter. If you earned Protector stance on solo, then you weren't doing any experience anyway, so you're just hella tanky, but you couldn't really get any XP, so it didn't really matter. But I suppose for bosses and for team hunts, where the EK maybe was a little bit too tanky in the Protector stance, so okay, yeah, I guess I can accept this. Maybe I would have preferred like 20%, but whatever. Yeah, small nerf to the EK here. Paladin, now Paladins are officially on suicide watch, like high level Paladins. Aren't going to be happy. The main complaint from high level paladins was that the healing was too little. in sharpshooter stance, and they couldn't maintain and upkeep their health in like high level respawns. And now, well, look at that. They've further reduced their healing from 15% to 25%. I'm not sure about this. I do think this is too much. I think this is unnecessary. If they don't like the power of the sharpshooter, which they also nerfing, they nerfing the distance fighting from 35 to 30 and my extra holy magic level from 5 to 3. This I think is fine, but I'd rather they I think the healing is too much. I don't think this was necessary. Maybe just nerf the damage even further. Maybe nerf to like 25 and even 2. But keep the healing. Like I would actually even remove the healing to like 5-10% tops. I think the healing is unnecessary. This healing reduction, I think it's too much, and I think high level paladins will be very, very unhappy with it. However, for like low and mid level paladins, this is still fine. Like level 500 paladin will still feel great. No concerns there. But yeah, if you're like 1.5k paladin, you're probably not very happy. Now we've got Sorcerer. We've got basically a buff to the Great Death Beam. They've increased the length by 2, reduced the cooldown by 4, and the base power, I believe, was already the same as the Great Energy Beam. So I don't know if this is actually changing anything. But basically, Great Death Beam is now just a Great Energy Beam, but with a different element. So yeah, basically, you'll be able to pick and choose which one you want to use in your rotation based on which respawn you're at. So if you're like at a death respawn, you may go for this Great Death Beam instead of the Great Energy Beam as part of your rotation. No major change, I think, but it's basically a buff to the Great Death Beam, which probably was necessary because when I was Fury crafted my rotations for after the rebalance, Great Death Beam wasn't part of any of them. So I guess it makes sense that it was increased. Now it probably will fit into some rotations. And then we have an amazing change here. We have an energy wave augment switch, which is really, really good. The affected area enlarged for the energy wave is now augment 1, which is amazing. It's very valuable. And now it's going to be much easier to make a rotation. Now I believe it's only 425 points that are necessary to get affected area enlarged on the energy wave and to get the beam mastery revelation perk. So your energy rotation will be fully online a lot earlier than previously. Previously, I think it was 650 points that you needed. So that's a difference of 225 levels when this proper energy rotation is going to be live now. So that's great. And they've actually increased the extra base damage on energy wave from the other like damage augment. Before it was 5%, now it's 10%. I was not expecting this. Personally, I was expecting some damage nerfs for the Sorcerer. So I'm quite surprised that they're actually providing a mini damage buff here. But okay, I'm happy with that. I'm just worried that Sorcerer will get nerfed 2-3 months from now. Hopefully not. We'll see. Anyway, overall changes, basically very positive for the Sorcerer. Now we have the Druid. They've increased the initial target range to 7 from 5. So basically you can target anything on your map, more or less, on your screen. And the jump range has been increased to 6. So again, this jump range now is amazing. It's basically, this is now a very nice spell. This is a very nice spell to use. It's going to feel very, very comfy. Whenever you target someone, it's going to really spread out. It's going to function very well. Now, my main complaint about these fork spells and Druid in general still hasn't been addressed, and that is that he doesn't have any conversion or reliable way of making sure these spells actually work, right? He's still stuck on the ice and earth spells, which now feel very good if they can be used at a given respawn. But if you're hunting, Winter Court, well, too bad. You can't use the ice spell, right? You've just got the earth one. And it's fine. You can use it, but then what? You can't use your ice wave, so you're going to be using like earth fork plus runes, right? And I mean, maybe that's the intended play. Either way, Druid will still be using a lot of runes. Like I mentioned previously, now especially with the larger area, yeah, Druid is basically going to be likely either just using runes exclusively, or if a fork is particularly good at a given respawn, they may rotate a fork and a rune. That's it. Not particularly exciting. I think Druid ultimately is not going to change a whole lot after the rebalance, but these forks will now actually be functional. I still like to see maybe 1 or 2 extra targets because now they target like 5 or 6 creatures, which is just not enough for high level hunting. But whatever. Functionally, they're going to feel good with those values that they've provided. They just won't be all that usable at many respawns because of the lack of the elemental conversion that Druid has. Now, finally, we've got the Monk. The Monk, I cannot believe the changes we are seeing here. The Monk is absolutely busted with these changes. Like, ridiculous. If you guys... sorry about that ping there on the Discord. Let me just turn that off. If you played the Monk for the past year and you went through multiple rounds of nerfs, well, if the Monk is released like this, strap in because you're probably going to get another one or two. The first change that they're giving in, they're basically giving you a 30% damage reduction against melee auto attacks, basically 30% damage reduction against physical attacks. Just because, I mean, it's crazy. Like, this is so strong. You saw zero supply monks. Well, you're going to be seeing zero supply monks basically everywhere. They're going to be taking like barely any damage. Ridiculously powerful, ridiculously tanky. I don't know where this has come from. I don't think this was necessary at all. Monk was still plenty tanky. Now he's like immortal. Like, Monk is more immortal than mages now. If with this 30% physical damage reduction, he pops Virtue of Sustain in a trap, like, how is he going to die? In addition to this, we've also got the Mass Spirit Mend, which has not been nerfed, so he's still healing a crazy amount to himself, and he can get a cooldown reduction on it now. So now, I think it's 12-second base cooldown, so now with minus 4 seconds, that's an 8-second cooldown on an amazing spell that he can use to heal himself. Crazy, really crazy. I don't know what's going on here, and I haven't even talked about the best one yet, which is this one, which is increased jump range of Chain Penance and Spiritual Outburst by 1. This is the most requested change for monks since it was released. Amazing. It's going to feel really great. So yeah, monk, like, these changes for the monk are like incredibly strong. I do not think this 30% damage reduction will stay as is for a long time. It'll either still already get nerfed in the rebalance, or, a month or 2 months after the rebalance, this is getting reduced. There is no way. I don't know. I just think this is crazy. This is crazy strong. I think, 10% even would be strong. 30 is insane. Yeah, amazing change on the jump range of Chain Penance, and this Mass Spirit Mend augment is also very, very good for survivability, because this Mass Spirit Mend is amazing for team hunts, obviously, but it's also incredible for solo hunting. You put it on your multi-action and you just cast it off cooldown, and this heals you like 4 times as much as regular Spirit Mend. Again, I'm kind of surprised that they're leaving this Mass Spirit Mend as is for solo monks. I was expecting Mass Spirit Mend to be changed so that maybe it doesn't affect the monk himself, it just affects the party members, but seems it's not changed and even buffed via this augment. So yeah, really, really good changes for the monk. So just before I shoot off on my vacation, if you can hear honking in the background, you know who that is. Yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with the changes for the monk. Obviously, I just think they're too good. Monk, obviously very happy. Sorcerer, also very, very happy. And I think Monk and Sorcerer are on the nerf watch for after the rebalance. They definitely seem like they're going to be very strong. EKs generally, I think, are going to be pretty happy, mostly through the quality of life updates through this rebalance. Paladins should be very happy in the low to mid level range. Even, I would say, even to like 1,000, Paladins are very happy. Past 1,000 is where it's going to, slowly become a problem, I think. But I maybe expect some changes to this healing reduction still. Even though I don't anticipate phase 4, I still think we're likely going to see some tweaks to these numbers. And Druids, whatever. These 2 new spells, if they stay like this, they're fine. When you hunt a respawn where you can use those, you're going to be happy. You're going to be using those. Otherwise, you're just going back to pre-rebalance duty. You're just going to be throwing runes, which may be a little bit nerfed. So maybe you're going to lose a little bit of power, but it is what it is. Anyways, that's what we have today. Overall, I'm planning to play the Sorcerer after the rebalance, so I'm pretty happy because the mana buff is still very good. The damage of the Sorcerer is still very good. I'm a little bit concerned that the Sorcerer may get nerfed. Hopefully not too much. But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, those are my thoughts on phase 3 of the Vocation Rebalance test server. I don't expect many more changes here, maybe some numerical tweaks here and there, but I do expect that the rebalance to probably be live around 2 weeks from now, maybe 2nd of June or so. Anyways, I'm off. I'll be back streaming and live on Monday next week on the 25th of May. So hope to see you then. Thanks very much for watching. Let me know what you guys think. And yeah, enjoy the test server. Bye-bye.